Fox Sports 1 baseball insider and reporter, joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. So, John, what was it like yesterday seeing Tim Tebow? Does he look like the real deal?
Well, Rich, what I can say is he looks like a minor league baseball player, and that's a compliment in this context because we saw his BP. It was very impressive. He was hitting 450-foot home runs there on the campus of USC yesterday before about 45 or 50 scouts. So they saw the raw power. His 60-yard dash was, I would say, above major league average. Maybe some of his actions in the outfield were a little bit stiff and rigid at times, which I think will get smoothed out as time goes on. I think he had some good at-bats during the live BP session. So I think, Rich, in its totality, it was a good day for Tim Tebow, and a half-dozen teams stayed afterward to speak with him. So I think the chances right now of him signing a pro contract are very, very high. I think he is going to be a minor league player, I believe, within a matter of weeks.
So how high in the minor leagues do you think?
Well, I think, Rich, what we'll see is because of where we're at in the minor league baseball season, of course it wraps up right around Labor Day, he wants to sign by the time that teams begin Instructional League, which is a very sort of intensive program for lower-level minor leaguers that takes place at various spring training sites in Florida and Arizona. He'll probably do that for a few weeks. Then I think there's some optimism that he'll actually play in the Arizona Fall League, which is a little bit of a higher level of competition, something approximating Double-A baseball, and perhaps even better because you do see often players in the Arizona Fall League in a given November will be in the major leagues the very next year. So I think he'll probably spend some time in Instructional League. Arizona Fall League has been a report that he's been offered a contract by a Venezuelan Winter League club. I think that, Rich, is probably less likely because he is still one of us. He still has some obligations in the realm of sports broadcasting for ESPN and the SEC network that he has to take care of on the weekend. So I think he's probably going to stay stateside at least through the end of the calendar year, but I do think he's going to be able to get some minor league baseball games in the Instructional League and the Arizona Fall League.
John Morosi, MLB Network, joining me here. He was at USC camp on the USC campus at the workout of Tim Tebow yesterday here on the Rich Eisen Show. And this is not being facetious here. His throwing motion looked pretty good. I mean, it looked like he has an arm out there in right field. Is that what they put him out there in right field to show his arm strength? John, is that what happened yesterday?
Yes, I think it was, in many ways, Rich, it was a classic baseball scout showcase. He did all the basic tools you want to see were on display. He ran, he fielded, he threw to bases, as you mentioned, went through the batting practice, and then the live BP, there was 18, 19 plate appearances that he had against former Major League pitchers David Ardsma and Chad Smith. So in right field, I think they wanted to get a sense for how he moved out there, his throwing motion. I think you would probably grade his arm out as major league average. I think certainly the throwing motion, again, maybe is not all that fluid from a baseball standpoint because you look at him and he's still built like a football player, and that's certainly a great thing, but maybe some of those baseball actions are more in the fluid realm that you'd want to have, that maybe those haven't quite arrived for Tim Tebow quite yet. But I would tell you this, Rich. I was sitting beside Ben Francisco during part of the workout. Ben Francisco, a longtime Major League player for the Indians and Phillies most notably, and he said basically he has many of the tools that you need to play in the major leagues. The physicality is there, and once you've signed that minor league contract, if you're at Class A ball, your ability to advance from there is really dependent upon your mental strength, your mental toughness, your physical capability and aptitude. So he has got, Rich, I think, and again, in the judgment of Ben Francisco, who played a very long time in the major leagues, in the opinion of David Ardsma, who faced him yesterday on the mound, and even times before that during his workouts leading up to yesterday, the major league players that have seen him and that have been in his presence see in him a professional baseball player. And now it's just a matter of how do those tools play in game conditions once he's got the opportunity to play every single day. But again, Rich, what you can say is the raw tools are there. Where this all goes, it's hard to tell. He's 29 years old, so I think any team that signs him is not going to be overly patient just because of where he is at in his overall age curve. But again, the fact remains, he looks, Rich, in my judgment and the judgment of people that have played this game at a high level, he looks like a minor league baseball player right now.
So he's going to ride the bus? It all depends on how much he wants to ride the bus and really grind it out to see how high he can go in somebody's system and maybe even, heaven forbid, get to the show?
I think so. And I think from all we know about Tim Tebow, and you certainly know more about him than I do because he's certainly his history has been in the football realm. Everything we know about him as a person and as an athlete, he really seems to enjoy that camaraderie with his teammates. He is that person who sort of enjoys sharing of his life experience with his colleagues. And I think in the baseball realm, that's going to be 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old guys from the U.S., from Latin America. This is obviously a young man in Tim Tebow who's traveled internationally a lot to the Philippines. He sort of enjoys people. And so to the extent that he's going to be able to enjoy people in that area of professional baseball, I think he'll actually embrace and enjoy the minor league experience. He made the point of saying, and I think candidly I give him credit, listen, I'm taking a pay cut here. I mean, we know Tim Tebow could make tons of money on the speaking circuit doing a lot of things that are not baseball. And I'm sure through all the things he's already done in his life, I'm quite sure he's not worried about paying the bills right now.
Yeah.
He's doing this because he loves it. And I think he's going to get that opportunity here very soon.
Well, I'm sure Adidas isn't, he's not wearing Adidas for free, but I understand what you're saying. And I do support what he's trying to do. And any Major League Baseball team that wants to kick the tires on it, I think would be smart. Because it's also a business decision. This is business more than anything else, too. It's a business of winning and the business of fannies in the seats, to use the Steinbrenner phrase, at the same time. Any sense at all amongst the scouts and people that were there that one team over the other might be more inclined to take a flyer here?
Rich, it's a great question. I don't have a sense right now of who the leader in the clubhouse is. The CAA, his agents there yesterday, were very, very coy about which clubs stayed later. I can tell you that a number of teams, most notably the Toronto Blue Jays, the Miami Marlins, they sent guys who, to use the industry term in baseball, Rich, have a lot of juice. They sent like the special assistants to the GM, top-level evaluators and decision-makers who've been in this game for many, many years. So that was interesting. The Dodgers actually had multiple scouts there. I think, Rich, the culture of the team is going to matter. You wonder if he's going to be in Major League camp, which is not a certainty, but I would imagine that if enough interest is there that maybe his agents will find a way to negotiate in that Major League camp invite for next year. I think it's going to be important to have the right group of players there who understand it, who are buying in. You want that leadership group of that team to be excited about Tim Tebow being around. I could see younger teams like the Diamondbacks, like the Marlins. I think those are two good fits just because of the type of people they have on their rosters right now, where I think there is the space, if you will, in that locker room, in that clubhouse, for Tim Tebow's presence to be there, knowing, of course, there's going to be so much attention on him. I'm not sure if it's going to be a fit for the Boston Red Sox, let's say, or the New York Yankees because of how much attention there is already on those ball clubs. But I think one thing to watch, too, Rich, is this. You mentioned, I think it's a very good point about the minor league component and how many fans they could draw in the minor league levels. A number of teams now have owners at the Major League level that also own affiliates all throughout the chain. Mm-hmm. If you sign Tim Tebow for $500,000, $250,000, and then you progress him through your minor league system at multiple affiliates that you yourself own, to your point, Rich, that's a lot of fans in the seats and a lot of dollars and a lot of return on your investment there at the outset of Tim Tebow's baseball career.
I'd 100% want to tell my scouting staff and my talent staff, my baseball people, to use the Steinbrenner phrase, if this guy's any good and you think he's any good, sign him. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you a couple quick hitters before I let you go. John Morosi, MLB Network here on the Rich Eisen Show. Who claimed Puig and what's going to happen to him?
It's a great question. That is unclear at this hour, although I will say this. It's before midnight Eastern time. He could be traded to that one team that claimed him. I think the Oakland A's are a possibility. I look at the Arizona Diamondbacks as a possibility as well within the same division. So I think those are two teams to watch. The Dodgers, they've said, Rich, privately that they're pleased with the way that he's played in the minor leagues. But, again, I think they're going to take this opportunity to move him. I think that there was enough consternation at the Major League level this year with his presence in the clubhouse. I think this may very well be Yasiel Puig's last day as a Los Angeles Dodger.
Wow, that would be an incredible turn of events. Obviously, Oklahoma City is a turn of events as well, which is where he currently is. And what's the scoop with Kershaw? When do you think we see him back?
It sounds like, based on the fact that Rich yesterday he threw 2 innings in a simulated game, that he is not quite ready to come back yet. They want to build him back up. He may have to have one more simulated game or a simulated start perhaps at the instructional league level. It looks like the middle part of September for Kershaw's return. But also notably, Rich, in that instructional or that simulated game yesterday, Brett Anderson threw in that game, Scott Kazmir, multiple pitchers who are injured right now for the Dodgers, Brandon McCarthy as well. So they could actually find a way to get multiple starting pitchers back in the month of September, which bodes very, very well for the Dodgers. Of course, they've been able to withstand the Giants here for this period of time. And certainly, Rich, before I run, I have to say this.
Yes.
I myself, I'm speaking to you from Ann Arbor right now, which is where I live, and I'm going with my wife to the game on Saturday against Hawaii. But I should say, based on hearing you're going to go to game 2, I may need to change my plans. I mean, because that's a pretty big day for you. I'm excited for you with that.
I'll be coming out of the tunnel, and then as the honorary captain. Then week 3, as I mentioned in the previous segment, it's Brady. Tom Brady said he's going to do it.
I tell you what, Rich, Jim Harbaugh understands how to market. I mean, this town here in Ann Arbor has been buzzing ever since he took the job, and he understands how to market this team both locally and nationally. It's been very interesting to watch.
John, thanks for the time. We'll have you back on shortly. Thank you.
My pleasure, Rich. Sounds great. Thank you.
John Morosi of MLB Network.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.